All right, Algebra. I'm sorry it's so late, but today's Wednesday, April 8th, and we are still factoring trinomials. And we're factoring ax squared plus bx plus c. And so remember, the first thing we always want to do, we want to make sure that there's no GCF, and there's not for this one. You have a 4, an 8, and a 3. So the first thing I'm going to do is I notice I have a minus on my b, or a negative on my b, and a positive. So I know that it's a negative and a negative in the middle. So I need two factors that are going to add up to be 8. So I'm going to multiply my a and my b. 4 times 3 is going to give me 12. And I need two factors of 12 that when they add up, they give me 8. So I have 1 and 12, no. 2 and 6, and there it is. So I know that both of these have to be minus. So I'm going to put that 2 with the 4 and the 6 with the 3. So I'm going to do 4n squared minus 2n, minus 6n plus 3. Okay, I'm going to group these two, and I'm going to pull out the GCF. Well, if I look at this one, it's 2n, and 2n times 2n would give me 4n squared. 2n times negative 1 would give me negative 2n. So that's 2n times the quantity, 2n minus 1. 6n and 3. Well, I know that 2n is a positive and that 1 is a negative. So I'm going to pull this out as a negative 3, even though they're not both negative. And this is just using some math knowledge. And you probably would have seen that if we didn't pull it out as a negative at first. Negative 3 times a positive 2n would give me negative 6n. So that's why I had to do it that way. Negative 3 times a negative 1 would give me that positive 3. And so that's why we did it that way. Because remember, what we ultimately want is we want that quantity in that parenthesis to be the same amount. That way we can regroup 2n minus 3 times 2n minus 1, and we have our binomial. We have it factored into our binomial. To check it, 2n times 2n is 4n squared. 2n times negative 1 is negative 2n. Negative 3 times 2n is negative 6n. And then negative 3 times negative 1 is positive 3. And right here, there's my negative 8n. And I look, 4n squared, 4n squared. Negative 8n, positive 3, positive 3. And that is that factored. Okay? For our second problem tonight, 12p squared plus 20p minus 8. And if you look at those, you know I'm going to tell you the first thing to look for is a GCF, and you notice that it does have one. All of those numbers are divisible by 4. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out this 4, and I'm going to put it in a bracket. 4 times 3p squared would give me 12p squared. 4 times 5p would give me 20p. And 4 times negative 2 would give me negative 8. Okay? So now I can go ahead and I can factor. I'm just going to factor this. All my 4 is going to do is just stay along for the ride. We're not going to do anything else with it. We're going to keep it along for the ride. This is a positive. This is a negative. So I know that I have a negative and a positive. So I'm going to use the difference. And I need a difference of 5. So I'm going to do 3 times 2, my a times c, and I get 6. And so my factors of 6, 1 and 6, well, when I subtract those, I'm going to get a 5. And I know the 6 is going to go with the positive because that 5 remains a positive. So I'm going to put 6 with 3p squared. So I'm going to have 3p squared plus 6p, minus 1p minus 2. And I'm going to regroup them. And notice I just keep moving that 4 down with me. I'm not doing anything else with it. I'm just moving it down. Okay, I'm going to pull my GCF out. My GCF here is 3p times p plus 2, because you can see that right there. Right here, the only thing they have in common is a -1. So I'm going to pull out a -1. -1 times p would give you that -1p. -1 times a +2 would give you that -2. And you look, and there you can see you have your identical quantities. So I'm going to regroup. 4 times the product of the quantities, 3p minus 1 times the quantity, p plus 2. And that would be your factored form right there. You can double check it. I'm going to just bring down my 4. 3p times p. My first terms are 3p squared. 3p times 2 is 6p. -1p times p, or -1 times p is -p. -1 times 2 is -2. Combine, and you get 4 times 3p squared plus 5p minus 2. And you get, you're going to distribute. 4 times 3p squared is 12p squared. 4 times 5p is 20p. And 4 times -2 is -8. And that brings us back all the way up to here. That 12p squared plus 20p minus 8. And that is factoring trinomials. All right, everybody, have a good night, and I will talk to you again tomorrow. Tomorrow for Spirit Day, it is Hero Day. Wear your hero shirt. Have a great night.